The notification arrived at 0600 hours, blinking simultaneously on the retina of every citizen in the 10 regions. Legislative update: the Harmful Speech Prevention Act, subsection 44. The recitation, distribution, or possession of Class 1 archaic texts, specifically Judeo-Christian scripture, is now classified as psychological violence. Penalty: immediate credit freeze and re-education. Paul blinked the notification away, but the headache remained. He sat on the edge of his bed in his micro-apartment. The air recycler hummed, pumping in scent-enhanced oxygen designed to promote compliance and joy. "Did you see it?" Sarah asked. She was sitting on the floor, mending a tear in her tunic. Since losing her teaching license a year ago, she had been working as a sanitation drone operator, a job usually reserved for the lowest caste of society. "I saw it," Paul said, rubbing his eyes. "They've officially made the gospel a weapon. If I quote John 3:16, I'm charged with assault." "It's the verbal abuse clause," Sarah said, biting the thread. "They say telling someone they are a sinner causes irreparable damage to their self-esteem and disrupts their connection to the universal spirit." Paul stood up and went to the window. The holographic billboard outside was playing a loop of the false prophet, the charismatic leader who spoke for the Pope. He was smiling, his face radiating a digitally enhanced warmth. "True love affirms," the leader crooned. "True love never judges. Silence the voices of division, and you will hear the voice of the One." "We have to go out tonight," Paul whispered, turning back to Sarah. "The group is meeting at the recycling plant. The magnetic interference there scrambles the audio sensors." "It's dangerous, Paul. The peacekeepers have upgraded the listening algorithms." "The first angel," Paul said, tapping his temple. "He flies in the midst of heaven. He warns them. If we stay silent now, the stones will cry out." The Ministry of Historical Harmonization was quieter than usual. The fear in the office was palpable. Everyone knew that the new law meant purges were coming. Paul sat at his terminal. His queue was full of files tagged for total erasure. He opened the first file. It was a digital scan of the Book of Romans. "Warning, contaminant detected." The screen flashed red. "Toxic ideology, exclusivity." Paul's finger hovered over the delete key. This was his job. If he didn't do it, the AI monitoring his keystrokes would flag him as a sympathizer. He typed the command, "Execute scrub." On the screen, the text dissolved. "For the wages of sin is death," vanished, replaced by the ministry-approved edit. "For the result of disharmony is a temporary loss of credit." Paul felt a sickness in his gut. He wasn't just destroying history, he was participating in the great lie. He quickly opened a subroutine he had written months ago, a ghost program. While the main system deleted the file, Paul's ghost program copied the original text, compressed it into a packet of noise that looked like a system glitch, and saved it to a sliver of physical storage hidden in his watch. He couldn't save the book for the world, but he could save it for the wilderness. The recycling plant in Sector 9 was a deafening place. Giant crushers pulverized the debris of the old world to be reprinted into the new. In a maintenance tunnel beneath the crushers, 6 people gathered. There was Paul and Sarah. There was Marcus, a former structural engineer who had helped build the city walls before finding Christ. There was an elderly woman named Ilara and 2 teenagers, twins, who had never seen a real Bible in their lives. "We have paper," Marcus whispered, pulling a stack of small, crude flyers from his jacket. "I printed them on an old dot matrix I found in the ruins. No digital footprint." Paul took one. It was simple, no graphics, just text. "Fear God, give glory to Him. Babylon is fallen."
"Where do we put these?" Ilara asked, her hands trembling.
they catch us. We don't put them, Sarah said. We leave them in the transport tubes, in the ration lines, in the bathrooms, places where people are alone, places where the AI isn't looking over their shoulder. It's a seed, Paul said. That's all. We plant it. The Spirit waters it. My neighbor reported me yesterday, one of the twins said suddenly, for saying God bless you when she sneezed. She said I was microaggressing her. It's going to get worse, Paul warned. The love of many is waxing cold. They think they're doing the world a favor by silencing us. They think we are the virus. They held hands. In the deafening roar of the machines, they prayed, not for safety, but for boldness. Paul returned to his apartment block just before curfew. He was tired, his nerves fried. He palmed the small stack of flyers Sarah had given him, slipping one onto the seat of the maglev as he exited. He walked down the hallway to his door. Mrs. Higgins was standing there. She was 70, a woman who had embraced the New Age crone goddess movement. She wore a pendant of the 10 regions around her neck. "Good evening, Citizen Paul," she smiled. It was a sweet smile, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Mrs. Higgins," Paul nodded, trying to unlock his door. "I heard talking in your unit last night," she said pleasantly. "You and that girl, Sarah." Paul froze. "We were just having dinner." "You were reading," Mrs. Higgins corrected. "Aloud, from a book, an old book." Paul turned to face her. "It was poetry, Mrs. Higgins." "It sounded angry," she said, clutching her pendant. "It sounded judgmental. Judgment is come." That's what I heard. It upset my aura, Paul. I couldn't meditate for hours. "I apologize," Paul said, his heart hammering against his ribs. "It won't happen again." "No," she said, and her smile widened, looking almost predatory. "It won't. I filed a harmony report. For your own good, dear. You need to be realigned." The elevator chime dinged behind them. The doors slid open. 2 Unity peacekeepers stepped out. They were humans, but they wore the full-face visors that displayed streaming data. "Citizen Paul," the mechanical voice of the lead officer barked. "You have been flagged for possession of Class 1 contraband and verbal terrorism." Paul looked at Mrs. Higgins. She was beaming, looking proud, like a child who had turned in her homework. "This is a mistake," Paul said, raising his hands. "Search the unit," the officer commanded. They shoved Paul aside and breached his door. They tore the room apart. They ripped the mattress. They scanned the walls with density sensors. Paul stood in the hallway, praying silently. The vent. Please, Lord, blind their eyes to the vent. The officer came back out holding a small leather-bound book. Paul's blood ran cold. It wasn't his Bible. It was a journal. Sarah's journal. She must have left it. The officer scanned the text. "Lord, give me strength to stand against the beast," the officer read aloud. He looked at Paul. "This is admission of treason. You refer to the Holy Father and the regional kings as the beast." Mrs. Higgins gasped. "Oh, Paul, you're a hater." "It's not mine," Paul said. It was the truth, but it didn't matter. Possession was 9/10 of the law. "You are coming with us for processing," the officer said, reaching for his stun baton. Suddenly, the lights in the hallway flickered. The building's AI system announced, "Power grid fluctuation in Sector 7, rebooting security protocols." For 3 seconds, the hallway was pitch black. The magnetic locks on the stun batons disengaged. "Run," the spirit whispered in Paul's ear. Paul didn't hesitate. He shoved the officer in the dark, hard, and bolted for the stairwell. "Suspect fleeing!" the officer shouted as the emergency lights flared red. Paul took the stairs 3 at a time. He didn't go down. He went up, to the roof. He burst out onto the landing pad. The wind whipped his face. The city below was a grid of lights, a cage of silicon and steel. He crossed the roof to the maintenance gap, a narrow bridge of piping that connected to the old industrial sector, a dead zone where the cameras were broken. He looked back. The stairwell door burst open. Paul jumped. He landed hard on the metal grating, rolling into the shadows of the adjacent building. He lay there, gasping for breath, listening to the drones spooling up to search the sky. He was a fugitive now. He had lost his apartment. He had lost his job. He had lost his place in the world. But he touched his wrist, where the digital copy of the word was stored. He hadn't lost the truth, and somewhere in the dark city, Sarah was waiting.